You're listening to the Unwritable Rant podcast with your host and bourbon-soaked storyteller, Juliette Miranda.
Hey y'all, it's Juliette Miranda, and you are listening to episode 131 of the Unwritable Rant podcast. Today's episode is brought to you by Studio. This is a lifestyle brand that makes premium headphones with studio quality sound and classic Scandinavian design. Y'all, these headphones are the perfect combination of style and tech. Just go to studio.com, that's SUDIO.com, to check out their line of headphones. And if you find something you like, use the code RANT during checkout and you'll get 15% off your purchase. And now, I have two bourbon-soaked stories for y'all about a stage wife and revenge cheers. But first, I don't know about y'all, but I need a little bit of the hair of the dog. I'm going to pour myself a glass of Barrell Bourbon Batch15. Cheers, y'all. I have talked about Barrell Bourbon quite a bit. I think I've had maybe 7 of their releases, and they are all amazing and excellent. And what's crazy is that they're all just a little bit different from each other. They're all blended bourbons, so that means we're not going to get a specific mash bill on any of them. But Batch 15 is high corn and high rye, and it's been aged for about 9.5 years. It is 107 proof, so this is some potent stuff. But oh, is it good. I've got mine with just a little bit of water, and it just brings out this huge gingerbread sort of flavor. It's toasty and warm and just a little tart, so it's the perfect bourbon for spring. So this past week, I was on set doing some work in TV, another bit part in a commercial. It's something that I do every so often. The friend of mine who's a casting agent, the only parts that she really throws in my direction are for infomercials and commercials that kind of run around 1 o'clock in the morning on channel 364. And I always have to laugh at the roles, because they're for things that I would never, ever do in real life. You know, like cleaning or being a mom. It's just baffling to me that anyone would trust me to spend time with a child, even if it's on set with a good 25 people watching everything that I do. But then again, you gotta remember that stage parents are kind of a strange breed with very curious priorities. You see the weirdest things happen on set with them. I once watched a stage mom demand that the entire set be relit because she didn't feel that her precious little angel was getting quite the right light. Oh, and then one time, the stage dad, he spent a solid hour bullying his kid into rehearsing every possible range of emotion for her one line. Just one line, and that was blast off. So by the time the kid gets on set, she's just completely drained. And then they've got to pump her full of Red Bull just to get that, little bit of excitement out of her. So I can't say that I have much affection for stage parents until I became one. Well, okay, that's not entirely accurate. I became something far more sinister. I became a stage wife. And I did it in Disney World. This was several years ago. And at the time, Disney World had an American Idol attraction at their Hollywood Studios theme park. It essentially provided a mini experience. So you'd go through auditions and perform and be judged on this gigantic replica of the American Idol stage. It was so cool, and I want it on. I am a little bit of a Disney freak. Not that I'm so blatant about it. I don't, run around the theme parks counting hidden Mickeys or anything. But I love the Disney experience. When I'm in the parks, I swill that whole dreams come true punch as if it's bourbon. I know it's silly and childish, but I don't care. I like it. It's magical. And that's why I really wanted to be on their American Idol experience attraction. Obviously, I know I will never be on the real show. So the Disney-fied version of it was the perfect opportunity for me to play pretend. Except what I didn't realize was the fact that they are really serious about it. I expected the whole Idol experience to be like everything in Disney, just a magical illusion. But they really made me audition, like in front of a Disney producer. I have since learned that the grand prize at the end of the day was a pass to skip the lines and perform for the judges at a real American Idol audition. So Disney had to wean the whack jobs like me out of the running as nicely as possible. So when I performed my rather gorkled version of Joy to the World by Three Dog Night, the Disney producer was ridiculously tolerant, but also quick to completely crush my dreams. She handed me a consolation pin that branded me a magical failure, and then sent me off to drown my sorrows in a pitcher of Mai Tais at the 50 Primetime Cafe bar. I tossed that stupid pin right across the bar and I whined. Clearly, Disney hated me. My guy was very sympathetic, of course. And as he soothed my hurt feelings, I was struck with a brilliant idea. I would make him audition. I mean, those who can't force others, right? And I had the perfect way to convince him. Another pitcher of Mai Tais. Because, y'all, my guy is not a frontman. I mean, don't get me wrong, he sings very, very well. But he's always been happiest behind a bass, not a microphone. And that's one of the reasons why I love him. But damn it, this was not the time for modesty. Not when I desperately wanted to see what happened behind the scenes at the attraction. I needed him to get his rock star on, and if I had to booze him up to do it, I would. Certainly wouldn't be the first time that's ever happened. It's not long before my guy is far more pliable to my whims. We head on over to the audition area, and at the time, the attraction really wasn't that popular, so my guy was able to walk right into the audition room, me hot on his heels. And I'm jabbing him in the back, and I'm going, "Sing for them, baby! Do it! Sing!" So he does. And because my guy likes to stick it to me when he has the chance, he sang the exact same song that I auditioned with. Only he sang it on key and on time. I can see the crinkles at his eyes turn up with a gotcha kind of smile. And for a moment, I really wanted to give him a good swift kick for being such a smartass. But I was too curious about what would happen next, so for the moment, I kept my mouth shut. The producer claps when he finishes and compliments my guy's voice. And then he congratulates him because, what do you know, my guy was going to be on the Idol experience. I start cheering because, yay, this is what I want. But my guy looks more mortified than excited. I don't think he really anticipated making it past the audition phase. So it looked like I was going to have to cough up some more booze. And fast, because they wanted to get him on the next performance, which was happening in an hour. So his next stop is to meet with the show producer. And again, I feel the need to stress, this is not the real American Idol. It's just the Disney theme park version of it. But wow, were they formal. The show producer is sitting behind a large desk like Orson Welles. His job, he explains to us, is to help the contestants pick out a song that they can sing on stage. He hands my guy a list of all of the songs that he can choose from. And this is not one of those karaoke Bibles. This is a very short list emphasizing Disney songs and pop hits. These are definitely not songs that are in my guy's wheelhouse. But after a quick skim, he perks up and he announces that he's going to sing the Stevie Wonder song, I Wish. Orson Welles looks dubious, and he says, that's a bold choice. Let's give it a try. So he cues it up on this office karaoke machine. And my guy, he just takes another sip from his Mai Tai and he says, no problem. Here's the thing about Stevie Wonder songs. They really shouldn't be performed by anyone other than Stevie Wonder. And definitely not by a guy who is slurping from an extra-large highball glass with a blinking Buzz Lightyear straw. It wasn't pretty. And Orson Welles, thankfully, was a kind person who stopped the song after a couple of lines. And he says, yeah, I don't think that's the right choice for you. So my guy, who is ever the man of boozy extremes, he says, fine, I'll sing Don't Let the Sun Go Down on Me. And now it's my turn to stare. Really, my love? I nudge him a little bit because I am confident we are testing the threshold of Orson Welles' magical attitude. But my guy just brushes me off and he says, play it. And again, it is a complete massacre. It's not that my guy is singing it badly. It's just that he's singing it wrong. Although oddly, I will say his blinky straw kind of worked in that number. Orson clicks the song off, and his expression clearly shows he is rethinking his Disney career choice. He takes a deep breath and he says, let's try this again. Perhaps a less complicated song? My guy grabs the list again and he skims it with disgust. And then he throws it at me and he says, I can't work with this. I need another drink. Lord, I have created a diva. Looks like it's time for the stage wife to do a little bit of damage control. I know if my guy is forced to sing something like, I can't wait to be king from The Lion King, I'm going to be the one who winds up paying for it later. Of course, we could have just walked right out of that pretend production office right then and there and saved everyone a ton of grief. But damn it, I wanted that American Idol experience. So I consult the list one more time and I pray for a song miracle. And oh, that great mouse in the sky answered my prayers, y'all. Because there at the way, way bottom of the list, clearly added as an afterthought, was the perfect song for my guy. Sweet Home Alabama. My guy completely scoffs at first, which I can't really blame him for. I believe the technical classification of Sweet Home Alabama is right up there with songs like Jesse's Girl and Summer of Fucking 69 as a shitty cover band song. And that is precisely why I chose it. It's a song anyone can sing in any condition. Orson cues it up, and my guy nails it on the first note. Orson looks very relieved to be done with us, and he sends us off to hair and makeup. I quickly slip out and restock our Mai Tai supply. When I return, I see that my guy is being forced to rehearse his song with a pretend microphone in front of a mirror. It is the first time I have ever seen full-on rage in my guy's eyes, and it's all pouring out right at me. I silently slide that fresh cocktail into his hands, which this time includes a blinky, goofy head, and then I creep away just as his Disney coach says, "That's it, smile big." I had to hand it to Disney. They really made the whole experience feel just like the real thing. Even the stage was an exact reproduction. I wasn't supposed to be standing on it, of course, but I snuck out there anyway and preened as they tested the lighting for the next round of performances. That was about as close as I will ever get to being in the spotlight. And for a minute I felt a little bit guilty about pushing my guy into it for my own vicarious pleasure. But then I caught him taking a selfie against the American Idol backdrop, and I kind of got the feeling that maybe he was digging this whole ride more than he was letting on. At that point, the producers of the show sent me out to meet the people in line for the attraction, and I'm instructed to greet them and encourage them to vote for my guy, because that's how the attraction worked. The judges on stage were just for show only. It was up to the crowd to vote the best singer into the next round. Oh, did I work that crowd hard. Like any good stage wife, I might have circulated rumors that the other two contestants, whom, by the way, I had not met, I might have insinuated that they bought their way into the competition with mouse chow. And I'm not proud of it, but maybe I did suggest that one of them had an inappropriate relationship with Goofy. And that got a great laugh, until I met her parents. Oops. I had forgotten that this was Disney World. We are eventually herded into the auditorium for the show. And by that time, they had everything set up. There was a pretend Ryan Seacrest, a mock Simon Cowell and Randy Jackson. And I found out that my guy was going to be up against two teenage girls. Oh, and my heart sank when I saw that one of them had a broken foot. I was sure that would be good for at least a sympathy vote. In my mind, my guy was absolutely the best performer of all three. He belted out his song like a total pro. And even in his flip-flops and vacation attire, he looked like every bit the rock star on that massive stage. Sure, the Simon Cowell judge told him that he sang Sweet Home Alabama like a guy from Chicago. And I suppose that's the Disney version of acerbic wit. But it didn't stop me from pimping my guy out to everyone sitting near me. And when it came time to vote, I snuck over to every empty seat near me, and I entered my guy's contestant number onto the keypads. Still, despite all of my best efforts, unsavory and otherwise, my guy lost out to the gimpy chick, who sang the theme from Beauty and the Beast. She'd be moving on to the big performance at the end of the day, whereas my guy and I were left to move on to another pitcher of Mai Tais. My guy will argue that the only reason he made it onto the experience at all is because they wanted a guy, any guy, to balance out the show. And that may be true, but despite all of his denials, he had fun. And let's face it, he never would have gotten there without his wacky stage wife. And that is a Disney pin I would wear with pride. And now, bourbon. So remember, y'all, if you want to improve your listening experience, whether it's to the Unwritable Rant or whatever it is that you're listening to, you want to check out Studio headphones. They have in-ear headphones, on-ear headphones. They look great, they sound great, they fit great. They are amazing. Just go to sudio.com, sudio.com, and check out everything that they have available. There's 15% off for you if you use the code RANT during checkout. And, y'all, I'm going to be giving away a free pair of Studio Regent headphones. They're valued at $100, and if you want to find out how you can win them, just go to my Twitter page the week of March 25th. I am at Morning Neurosis, and you will find out how you can enter to win these amazing headphones. So I have to say, for all of the ballet classes and science fairs and piano lessons that I had when I was a kid, I am very relieved that I did not have stage parents to contend with. They were mostly laid back about everything that I did, except for that time when my mother forced me to try out for cheerleading. Can you even picture me as a cheerleader? It was during my freshman year of high school. And I think she and I both harbored just a little bit of hope that maybe I would be a normal teenager. My junior high experience had been shitty, to say the least. I mean, what between all of the bullying and my heated discovery of rock music. So I looked at high school as a fresh start. I had read enough Sweet Valley High books to have a very romantic notion of what high school would be like. And part of me wanted in on all of those lovely cliches and pretty ponytails. Because I'll tell you, it is hard to be different. Particularly when you're a kid. And from my vantage, it seemed way easier to have school spirit and go to football games and dances than to fight the system and put all of my energy into music that no one else seemed to like. But everyone loves a cheerleader. Back then, at least at my school, cheerleading wasn't the competitive sport that it is now. Mostly our cheerleaders just clapped in unison and yelled peppy things during games and turned the occasional cartwheel. I wasn't sure if it was the right fit for me, but I brought home a permission slip to attend the required 2-week training camp before tryouts. Oh, and I remember that day exactly. I was wearing a Motley Crue Theater of Pain t-shirt, but I had paired it with these cute little pink shorts, cuffed crew socks, and Keds. As if somehow the perkiness of my lower half would distract from the darkness covering my heart. One look at me and it would be clear to anyone that I was having more than just a fashion war with myself. I don't really know if I thought cheerleading was the solution, but it seemed like a start. And my mother signed that permission slip without hesitation. She even organized a carpool with the other moms. And I'll tell you, the training camp wasn't awful. I mean, at least not for the first week. I learned the art of clapping and how to synchronize my kicks. And the whole thing was just so perky and fun, it was easy to be carried away by it. I even started to think I was making friends. Girls with pearly teeth and bright eyes and names like Melody and Brittany actually smiled at me in the hallways. So I traded my dirty rock band t-shirts for polos with popped collars. But in week 2, however, my girl illusions started to chip. The camaraderie of the first week was replaced by sideways glances, snide comments, and outright spite. All of the tools that girls use to demonstrate considered superiority. And the cheer routines didn't get harder, they just got more cruel. Still, I was keeping up. I was technically good enough to escape criticism, and I had camouflaged my real personality so well that I mostly went unnoticed. Until I got comfortable. On Thursday, the day before the official team tryouts, I got to our practice early, and I had the entire gym to myself. The tumbling mats were already spread out, so I set my cute little Radio Shack boombox on the ground, put on a tape, and started to rehearse. At first, it wasn't what I was doing or how I was doing it that caught the attention of the coach and her 2-star senior cheer flunkies. It was what I was doing it to. And that would be Aerosmith's Ragdoll. To that point, the preferred cheer music was Janet Jackson. I suppose I could have gotten away with a racier Prince or Madonna, but I can't say I really gave it much thought. I just put on what I liked. The admittedly lusty lyrics filled the gym, and my spirit tucks and toe touches went from being really crisp and sharp to kind of unintentionally fluid. And suddenly it was less gym and more my own personal dance floor. All that was missing was a pole. The cheer trio strides into the gym in unison, and they stop my music. I was caught mid-splits, and although I tried my best to gracefully get up and greet them, the damage was done. All practice long, I was the sole target of aggressive critique. My legs weren't long enough, my back not strong enough, my ponytail not pretty enough, and my spirit, well, that went down the toilet. As I was packing up my bag to leave and sucking back a tidal wave of tears, one of the seniors grabbed my arm and suggested that we have a little chat. She essentially laid out the rules of my school's particular brand of cheerleading. It was a team activity, where all the girls had to act as a unit. And that's why it just didn't work when one girl went off and did her own thing. We're like sisters, she said. We do everything together. And that's why we all have to be on the same page about certain things. She nods toward my Aerosmith cassette and essentially says, if you want to be on the team, that's gotta go. And here, y'all, I am absolutely ashamed to admit that I looked at this girl and I said, so you're saying I could be on the team? And she nods and she says, oh yeah, you will. But only if you show us you want it. Oh, I went home and I considered it. I really did. That cheerleading temptress was dangling the very formula for high school social success right in front of me. All I had to do was buy in. But where would that leave me? I didn't know who exactly that me was yet, but I knew I really didn't like the idea of someone defining it. I mean, it was a struggle, but I knew that it wasn't the right thing for me. So I went to my mother, and I told her I would not be trying out for cheerleading after all. And that is precisely when all hell broke loose. My mother was not normally one to lose her shit. She always understood my logic, even if she didn't necessarily agree with it, but she let me see my decisions through. But for whatever reason, she was dead set on my becoming a cheerleader, and flat out forbid me from skipping the tryouts. For fuck's sake, we were in Illinois, not Texas. And hell, my school, they allocated way more energy and resources to their badminton team than they did to the cheerleaders. So I can't really speak to what my mother was thinking then or what she wanted from me. Maybe she was just caught up in the same all-American fantasy that I had been. Or maybe she wanted me to see the importance of finishing what I start. What I do know? I was pissed. I threw perhaps the most volcanic of all of my teenage tantrums then. I was confident that my mother was about to ruin my life. And my mother did not budge. I would try out for cheerleading tomorrow, or I could kiss all of my weekend freedom goodbye. So I stomp off to my room and I slam the door and I think, fine, I'll try out and I'll make you wish I hadn't. That revenge rage carried me through school the next day, and right up to the few minutes before tryouts began. I cuffed my socks and laced my cute little white sneakers, and I looked around the room at all the other girls. We were all wearing our gym uniforms then, each of us still looking bright and new, and completely identical. Now look, I don't mean to sound as though there is anything wrong with cheerleading, because there isn't. And who knows, I might have had fun doing it. So I just want to be clear now that what I did next wasn't meant to insult the institution of cheerleading. It was just more my rather obnoxious way to rebel against my mother and against conformity. The first part of tryouts went exactly as expected. We performed several cheers and stunts as a group, and then for the second part, we each performed solo cheers. There were technical skills that we had to demonstrate, but ironically, we were encouraged to be creative with our routine. Yeah, I was very creative. My name is called, and I step into the center of the room and confront a table of 5. The senior girl who had pulled me aside the day before gave me an encouraging smile, while the others sat there in stony silence. I start my cheer like any other, with sharp arm movements and a chipper, "Ready? Okay." And then, with my best precision, I begin. The walls are shaking. The earth was quaking. My mind was aching. And there was a hush throughout the room. No one recognized the cheer exactly, and they certainly couldn't argue with the sentiment. But they all looked just the slightest bit afraid for me to continue. So I did. I nod to my friend who was on the sidelines, and she pulls out my little boombox and hits play. The opening chords of my favorite AC/DC song consume the room. And me, I finish a very perverse cheer to drop jaws and angry stares. There wasn't really any reason to stick around after that. I went home and informed my mother that I had not made the team. She looked surprised and more disappointed than reasonable. And when word eventually caught up with her about what I had done, she just came to me and asked, why? Why would you do that? I couldn't really explain it to her. I mean, quite honestly, it's taken me years to figure out what was going on in my head then. But she knew enough to let the matter drop and resigned herself to the uncomfortable reality of my future. Admittedly, there is no way to steel yourself for the moment when one day you are asked if your daughter is sleeping with Ozzy Osbourne, but at least my poor mother had a better idea of what to expect from me. Well, y'all, I hope you enjoyed this episode of the Unwritable Rant podcast. If you want to catch up on back episodes or buy one of my fancy new Unwritable Rant flasks, just go to theunwritablerant.com. Thanks so much for listening to this episode. Cheers, y'all.
Go to theunwritablerant.com and sign up to get early access to interviews and new videos. And don't forget to connect with Juliette on Twitter @MorningNeurosis.
Girl, you as pretty as a Sunday morning, standing on the corner at Carondelet. What you say we make our way up to Bourbon, couple hurricanes and a hand grenade, and get blown away. Let the chips fall where they may. If it's all the same, what you say, bon ton relay. Hey, pretty mama, I can smell the gumbo. Sweetest taste of honeysuckle on my lips. Good God Almighty, I can hear the trombone. Every heart ought to beat to a rhythm like this. Come a little closer, honey, let me hold you. Nothing tastes better than a bourbon kiss. You can be the flower on my magnolia. Every heart ought to beat to rhythm.